Hi, I'm Andrea, the contest coordinator here at the American Quilter Society. Congratulations on having a quilt juried into an AQS show. You can now complete all of your return paperwork in 15 minutes or less online. It's quick and easy. Here, let me show you. So we're going to begin by going to the original notification email that you received. And you're going to want to open the attachment contestant guide. Once we have that open, let's scroll to the second page. This page here, I highly recommend that you print it to have as a guideline to use as you're going through the process. You'll find the step-by-steps very helpful. You're also going to want to copy this confirmation number because you will need it in the next step. And right here is where we click to begin. This will take us to the actual site. We will hit Complete Shipping Preferences, enter in our information, click OK. The next step is to click the Modify button. Now you're going to see your name and then your name with each of your quilts beside it. If you have more than one, there will be several lines here. So we're going to stay on the line where it has our quilt title here and click on the registration link. Here is where we select our shipping preferences. In 2015 we do have some changes. A fee will now be added to all irregular size shaped packages. This is due to the carriers using the dimensional weight to do the cost, which is considerably more, and also the additional time and handling. So you see our selections here. Our first is if you will be picking up your quilt after the show, you will select this option. And on the next page, there will be a box where you can name the person who will be picking up your quilt. Next, you see the two domestic return shipping options. This is for shipping within the United States. If you will be shipping in a standard box, folding your quilt. And if you will be putting your quilt in a tube, or rolling your quilt and putting it in a slender type box, you would select this option. International contestants, this is where you would select your shipping from. If you're just folding your quilt and putting it in a box, it would be this first option. If you are rolling your quilt, it will be this second option here. We also have the option to hold a quilt between contests. If you have entered into a future show and you would like us to hold your quilt, select this option, and then on the next page it's going to ask you to check which of the contests in the future you have entered. And also new in 2015 we have a prepaid option. If you go to FedEx or UPS and get a prepaid label to send with your quilt, you can use this option here. The first is if you'll be folding your quilt in a box, you would select the first option. If you are sending it in a tube, you would select this option here, and that is rolling your quilt in a tube or slender type box. You would select the second option. The next section here is for insurance, and this is only for within the United States. International contestants will actually select their insurance on the next page. So if you would like to add additional insurance, this is where you can do so. Just remember, anything over 1,000 does require an appraisal. This section here is where you can select to have your quilt appraised at the show. Do note that if you have your quilt appraised at the show, that the appraisers will mail out the completed appraisal approximately 30 days following the show, and there will be additional questions on the next page that the appraisers will need as they're doing that appraisal that you'll need to complete. Lastly here, if your quilt were to win a cash award, how would you like the check made out? You'll see several options here. The first is entrant name only. So this is just your name that the check would be made out to. If you were part of a group or a guild, or you wanted to split the award or donate it, select one of these other options, but be aware that you will need to provide the name and mailing address for each one of those. For this purpose, I'm going to click domestic return shipping in just a box. I'm just going to fold up my quilt in a standard box. And I'm going to say my name only. I'm not going to request an appraisal or do any additional insurance. And click Next. Next we have the disclaimer that if you do decide to roll your quilt and ship it in a tube or a long slender box later, there will be the $25 fee. You'll have to check the box to continue. Next, it's going to ask if your quilt is returning to the address listed on your entry. This is the one you used when you first entered. If it's returning to the same address, then you're just going to simply click Yes. However, if it's going to a different address, you will click No, and then you'll see the option pops up to put in where you want your quilt shipped to. But I'm just going to say I want it shipped to my home address. Please note that we cannot ship to P.O. boxes. So if your home address that you use to enter as a P.O. box, you will need to put in a different one. Now it's going to ask, how do I want my quilt returned? I'm just going to say FedEx. It asked me, did I purchase additional insurance? I did not. If I have any special shipping instructions. If you have an appraisal that you need to upload for the additional insurance and you didn't already upload it with your entry, this is where you can add it. Or if you didn't have design permission and you need to upload it now, you would add it here. If everything's correct, click Next. And you see you're brought right back to that same page. If you have another quilt, which would be listed on the next line, you would need to do the exact same thing for that quilt. So if you had another quilt, you would click the registration link beside that quilt. If this is your only quilt, or you have completed that step for each quilt, then you would click Next. This is just a summary page. You just click Next here. And here's where you're brought to the final page for payment. If you clicked Hold or In-Person Pickup, there would be a zero amount here, and all you would have to do is click Finish. But if you do have a payment, put in your information and click Finish. You have not completed the process unless you click the Finish button. Now, I'm not going to click Finish here, but if I were to click Finish, I would get a couple little gears spinning right here, and then it would tell me when the process was complete. And then also you would receive this confirmation email here that shows that your preferences were saved. So be sure to look for this email because that lets you know that you have finished the process and you are complete. And it's that easy. You're all set, and I hope to see you at the next Quilt Week.